Hey guys, my name's David LeFevre. I'm the chef owner of Manhattan Beach Post, Fishing with Dynamite, and of course the Arthur J in Manhattan Beach, California. And I'm here in my home kitchen because I'm going to show you how I cook my Thanksgiving turkey. Now, I've got all the ingredients we need here to roast a turkey. First and foremost, I've got a D-Still Farm free-range turkey. It's about a 16 to 18 pound bird. I've got my mirepoix, which is celery, onion, and carrot, large cut. I've got about 4 to 6 cups of that. I've got a herb butter that we make at the restaurant. I've got a thermometer that you're going to need. Now the turkey, the mirepoix, the butter, and the thermometer, we actually sell all of those in our Thanksgiving to-go menu, so you can get all of those from our restaurant if you like, or you can make your own at home in that sense. I've also got a really good metal thick gauge roasting pan with a rack that goes inside it. I've got about 1 quart to 2 quarts of water here. I've got some vegetable oil. I've got some coarse sea salt here. And then I've got some pepper right here, as well as a good cutting board, a meat fork, a good chef's knife, a slicing knife. We've got a pastry brush here for the butter, and then I've got some foil just in case I need it. Now, cooking turkey was really difficult. I hear all the time, how can I cook my turkey without drying it out? It always gets so dry, or one part's done and the other part's not done. I get it. I'm a chef. I get how hard it is. Roasting whole birds is really, really difficult. The reason that it's so hard is that you've got white meat here that is really lean and cooks very quickly. And then you've got dark meat down here with the thighs and the legs that take a long time to cook, take a long time to break down, and they cook at a different rate. So you've got 2 different types of meat that you're trying to cook all at once, and that can be really, really difficult. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you what I do to this bird here in order to make it super flavorful to each part of the meat. I'm gonna cook the legs and the thighs so they're perfect, and then I'm gonna cook the breasts so they're perfect, and then we're gonna be able to present it and make it look all beautiful for you and all your guests at Thanksgiving. Okay, so I have everything outside. They've come to room temperature. I've got my oven preheated to 350 degrees, right? And so once I have the oven going and preheating and I've got everything out at room temperature, I'm gonna start to get my bird ready for roasting. Okay, so you ask yourselves, Chef David, how do I cook this bird and make sure that I don't overcook the breast and that the leg meat gets cooked well enough? I've got the answer for you. Don't cook it whole, okay? Now, inside the bird, you're gonna get a neck. Okay, I'm going to put that neck in the roasting pan just underneath the rack so it doesn't get in the way. And then you've got some other items in here such as the heart and the liver and things like that, the giblets. You can use those for gravy. And in order to do them for gravy, you're usually going to want these things to cook anyway. So I've got the gizzard and the heart here. I'm going to put that in there as well. And then I'll save the liver if I want to use that for something else. Okay? All right, so I've got the bird here. Now, the bird is separated into the breasts here with the wings, and then I've got the leg, the drum, and the thigh here. What I want to be able to do is I want to be able to take the leg, the thigh, and the lower back and separate that from the breast, the sternum bone, the wing bones, and the arm bones, right, and the back. So I want to take the upper back, the breast, and the wings and separate it from the lower back, the legs, and the thighs. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Okay, so this is a close-up of the bird. And you have the leg, the thigh, the back down here, with the breasts here and the wings up here. And so what you want to do is we want to cut between the leg and the breast here on one side, the leg and the breast on this side, and then I have to lift it and I have to cut the back. I'm going to be cutting the back right around this area here. I can just mark that, right? Separating the upper back from the lower back. I know where that line is because it's right where the crease of the thigh goes, right there. So I'm just marking this now so I know later where to do it, right there, right across the back. Now, when I cut this, I'm gonna have to cut between the vertebrae, and I'm gonna have to kind of be forceful with it in order for that back to crack and for me to cut through. All right, so let's go back here. You can see that there's a little plastic thing here. This is actually, you can roast the bird with this on it. You don't have to take this off, and this will keep the bird all nice and together. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut through here through the leg, all the way down to the side, and I'm going to push the leg out a little and cut that skin right down to the end, okay? I'm going to turn to the other side, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to cut through that skin, down all the way to the inside of the carcass where the ribs are, all the way down to the back, right? So you can see I've got the legs here, I've got the breasts up top, and I can just, the weight of the bird itself will almost crack that bone right there. You can see it, it just gave weight, okay? And now all I have to do is I have to just take it, cut through the back, all the way to the back. Boom. I've got separated bird there, that skin cut. I've got the breast meat here, and I've got the leg meat here. Dark meat, white meat, okay? Okay, so we have cut the breastbone, sternum, the wings, and the drummies up there, separated that from the lower back, the thighs, the dark meat of the leg, and the drum down here. So we've got two different sections because they cook differently. They cook at different speeds and they have different moisture content. So first thing I'm going to do with both of these, I blotted them dry already. You can see there might be just a little bit of moisture left on them. I'm still going to blot them dry to make sure that we have less moisture. The less moisture we have on these when we start, the better off it's going to be. I'm going to take some simple vegetable oil. I'm just going to brush the vegetable oil on there, right? There's plenty of fat in the turkey legs and thighs, but you always want to make sure that once you put these guys in there, that you're going to get plenty of fat to make sure it turns nice and crispy brown, okay? I've done that. Just take this, I'm going to do the same thing over here on this guy. Get a good amount of oil on it, right? Really slather that on. And again, the skin itself has fat in it, so you don't need a ton of this, but you do want to get every little part of the bird with oil, okay? So we've got oil there. Next thing we want to do is we want to hit it with some salt. Be liberal with your salt, okay? Liberal with your salt. Everybody says, oh my God, why are you adding that much salt? Well, this is like 2 pounds of meat right here, okay? So it takes a lot of salt to penetrate into that meat. And a lot of this stuff, we're not even going to eat. The backbone, there's not a lot of meat on that. We're going to pick that for soup or something later, okay? So we've got heavily salted. Same thing here. A lot of salt on there. Not crusted, but heavily seasoned, okay? You want to see a good amount of salt on there. And the wings, all the way in the front. Okay, we got plenty of salt on there. I'm gonna wipe my hands off. And then we're gonna do some pepper. Lots of pepper too. I'm gonna just pepper the outside of the legs. Now you can use white pepper, black pepper. I prefer a fine grind of black pepper on my turkey. Some people like white pepper. It's just a total, it's the same thing, just one has the black hull on the outside and the white doesn't. So both of these, heavily with salt and pepper. All right, so these are salted, peppered. I'm going to take the thigh. All I'm going to do is place it inside the rack, facing one end of it, okay, just like I'm going to want to serve this later, because later on we're going to take this and we're going to put it in here and add it to the legs that are roasting about halfway through the whole cooking process. So this is what she's going to look like. We're going to have it here on the end, and we're going to leave this space for the breast. One more thing I'm going to do before we put it in the oven, I'm going to take some water. I'm going to pour that water on the bottom of the pan, all right? And I'm going to give it just about maybe a ½ inch of water in that pan, all right? And the reason I'm doing that is because this thing's going to be in the oven for a while, right? If I don't have anything on the bottom of that right now, right, all the oil and everything's going to drip down there, and the neck and everything, they're going to start to brown and then burn because it's going to be in there for 4 hours. So I've got water in there to kind of just give me some, basically give me something for the drippings to go into without burning up and flaring up on the bottom of the pan. Later on, if you want to make gravy, you can put that on your burner, reduce down the heat, and brown it off later, okay? So this is going to go in the oven at 350 degrees. And we will baste the turkey with our herb butter about every 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Okay? Let's go pop this in the oven. Okay, so we've got the legs, the thigh, the lower back. It's been seasoned, rubbed with oil and seasoned with salt and pepper, and I've also got water in the bottom of the roasting pan. I've also got the heart, the gizzard, and the neck in the pan in that water. They're gonna roast along with the turkey and get all the drippings in there together. Okay, so I'm gonna put this inside the oven. You follow me this way. And put her inside the oven, and I'm gonna try to do it this way if I can. You can also do it this way, whichever fits better, okay? Got that inside. It's at 350 degrees, ready to go. I'm gonna set a 30-minute timer so I can baste it with the butter at 30 minutes. Okay, now we've got the legs and the thigh and the back in the oven with the neck, the giblets. We've got that in there roasting with water. That's gonna, at 350, that's gonna start to cook. It's gonna take a while to get that thing going. But one thing I wanted to mention along the way, a little tip is, sometimes people have been asked me, hey David, I have a hard time getting enough color on my turkey or not getting enough color on my turkey. And a lot of times it's the same thing with pies. They'll say, sometimes the pie gets too dark, sometimes it gets too cold. Look, foil is your friend, okay? Use this as a protective barrier on anything that you're roasting. Now look at this bird here I have here. This is still raw. We're gonna roast this in a little bit, but sometimes you'll notice like maybe this part up top will start to get darker brown than the rest of it because it's up near a heat source, okay? All you guys have to do is just take a little piece of foil, right, and put it right over the area that you don't want to get brown anymore. So if it's getting light here but dark up here, all you have to do is you can just take this, fold it around, tuck it in there, right? And that'll protect that area. If you want more over the other part, just take a little bit more, right? And do the same thing over the whole part. You can put it all over this if you want while it's baking, right? And you won't have to worry about it getting dark while you're roasting it. This will stop the coloring process, right? And it will keep it cooking, but it won't keep it, it'll prevent the skin from darkening more. So this is something that you can do while it's baking. Now it's raw. I don't have to do this now, but once you start seeing it, if it's at the color you like, put the foil over and keep baking it until the temperature is desired that you need. That way you won't get burnt spots. Same thing on pie. If you've got the color you want on the crust of your pie, you can cover it with foil and that'll stop it from getting darker and darker and darker. It's been about 30 minutes that I've had the thighs and the legs in there. So I'm gonna take them out and I'm gonna baste them with the herb butter that we have prepared. So open her up. Be careful when you bring it out of the oven so it doesn't splash. You can set it on the door itself. If you don't have a very secure door, don't do it there. You can also pull the rack out if you want to do that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some of this herb butter and I'm just going to put it right on the turkey. And you can see I'm putting it on all the sides and it's just melting right on there, getting all the way down to the legs, right? All the way over the thighs and the inner thigh here and on the outside of it. And you can see I can move this thing around if I want to. I can move the legs around because they're not going to stick to the rack that I have. So you can see the herbs, and while you're doing this, you can just smell the sage, the rosemary, and the thyme come out of the butter, right? So I'm going to be doing this throughout the day. So I don't want to put a ton on right now because a lot of it will melt and just go off. I want to just put enough to start the coloring process and letting that butter get brown. Just going to move it over slightly a little bit, back into its little corner. And you can see, look at the liquid here. It's already starting to cloud up because the juices from the turkey are going into it. The neck and the giblets and the heart are starting to cook. And that moisture, it's evaporating though. So as we keep going, this moisture is going to evaporate. It's going to become more concentrated flavor, and you can use that as stock for your gravy if you want later. All right, I'm putting the sucker back in. Going to set the timer for another 30 minutes, and then we'll see what it looks next time. It's been another 30 minutes. We're going to pull it out, take a look. All right, great. So you can see we're getting a lot more color on this than we had earlier, right? Getting browning on the legs here. It's starting to cook a little bit more. There's no, all the juices that you're seeing right now, I'll just turn this towards you a little bit more. All the juices that we're seeing are starting to be less pink in color, and they're looking more cooked through, right? You can see the juices are running pretty clear, right? So all I'm going to do again, we're going to baste this guy and get some of that really good butter, some of that good herb butter in there, and that'll flavor it. This herb butter has parsley, sage, rosemary, thyme, salt, and pepper in it. So if you want to make that in your house, all you have to do is chop those up, blend it up a little bit, and then mount it with the butter and add salt and pepper to it. So you can see great color. I'm just going to put a little bit more of this butter on there. And look, I have plenty of butter still for when we're going to add the breast meat to this, right? One thing I will do is I'm going to rotate this right now. I'm just going to grab my fork real quickly. There we go. And I'm just going to take this guy and I'm going to turn it over just to the other side. And you can see that this side isn't as brown. The reason it's not as brown is because it's closer to the moisture on the bottom of the roasting pan. So I'm just going to slab some of this on here, and we'll get those thighs, right? We'll get the thighs and the legs to get some nice color on those. But you can see that butter just kind of drips down there, covers all the different areas, and the herbs will automatically start to cook. And any of that extra butter, if it falls down into that water, that'll just melt. And then when later on, when you make gravy out of that liquid, you can have that butter flavor in there as well. So I'm going to put this back in there for about another half hour. We're going to start to see this side get a lot browner than it currently is. And we'll get that nice caramelization on the thigh areas here and the leg area there, not just on the drum area that we saw before. So this sucker's going back in, another 30 minutes. And then at the end of this next 30 minutes, I'm going to take a temperature using my thermometer right here, and I'm going to point that right into the area where the drummy and the thigh meet, into that deep bone area right here, into that kind of knee area where it's going to be the coolest. Because if it's up to 155 there, that's plenty for us to add the breast then. All right. Back in the oven. And we'll set it for 30 more minutes. I've got the turkey legs and thighs and backbone in here. So you can see this thing has great color on it. Turn this around so you can see it better. Use the fork. Look at that. We're getting some nice brown coloring on it. The legs are nice and golden brown. All I'm going to do is I'm going to just flip this over. Careful, these are really hot. I kind of have chef hands, so. All right, so I'm going to get this into position where we can just get both of the thighs just like this, just like we would do for a regular turkey that wasn't cut into two different pieces. Okay, we want to check the temperature of these to make sure that we've got this thing up to about 150, 155 at least. If it's more than that, don't worry. The legs and the thighs can cook for a really long time at a high temperature, and they're going to be really moist. It takes hours and hours and hours and hours and hours to dry out a leg like that. So I'm just going to go from the inside. Usually you do it from the outside because you couldn't reach it from the inside, but without the breaster, I can do it right from the inside. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to go right down into, I'm going to hold the backbone down, and then I'm going to go right into where that meat hits the bone in there. There we go. And I'm going to take a look at the temperature we've got. It's going up pretty quick. I've already at 120, 125, 130, 135, 140, 145, 150. We're right around 150, a little bit over 150. I'm going to just double check the other side to make sure that it's the same temperature over there, which it is. Great. So this is up to easily 150 degrees, right, which is fine. Now I'm going to add the breast side to it. So we've got our breast here. The other thing I'm going to add is our mirepoix, right? And so all I want to do with my mirepoix is get it down into that liquid, right? It's carrots, onions, celery, getting it all into the pan, and I'll show you the pan in 1 second here. Trying to get all those vegetables in the bottom. Now, a lot of people might say, oh, geez, that doesn't look like enough vegetables for an 18-pound bird. The thing is you don't want a ton of vegetables in your stock and broth, okay? And basically, the only reason I'm adding mirepoix to this is to get, to get a stock flavor out of the liquid I have in here to catch all those pan drippings from the turkey itself that drip down in there. And you can see right here, 1 second, you can see all the vegetables that are in here, right? Without tilting that water over, right? So we've got all the roasted vegetables in there. The neck is getting nice and caramelized. So is the gizzard and the heart. That's all going to add flavor. And you can even see the meat is starting to kind of come. I can start to take the meat off the leg a little bit, but it's not pulling from the bone. So it's still got some time. I can take, we want this to almost fall off the bone. Next thing. All right. We're going to get this bird in here. And I want to snuggle it, look at this, right into that position. Okay? Right so it looks just like a turkey. Now, all we're going to do is I'm going to baste this with a little butter again, put it back in the oven, and then continue to baste about every 30 to 40 minutes. So again, just going to take a little bit of this herb butter and put it on top. Now, this is cold, so it's just going to stick a little, right? This is going to stick a little. That's fine. Just like so. All right. There we go. Look at that. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. All right. I'm going to put this in the oven, and then we're going to cook it for another, like I said, 30, 40 minutes, baste again, and continue until we're going to get this this turkey breast up to at least 150, 155 degrees. Okay, so our turkey's been in the oven. We've got the legs and thighs that we did first and basted those about every 30 minutes with that herb butter. Then we added the breast and wings to it and snuggle it up so it looks just like a whole turkey. We've basted that with the herb butter every 30 to 40 minutes as well. All the drippings from the bird have gone to the bottom of the pan in that liquid with the mirepoix, and all the butter and the herbs have drifted off into it. So if we want to use that liquid for our gravy, we can. But it should be ready to pull. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to grab it out, and I'm going to show you the finished product. All right, here we have it. And as you can see, beautiful brown color. I'll tilt it here so you can see it a little bit better. Beautiful golden brown color. You can see the herbs that have stuck to the outside of it. You can see the bone here. This is a good thing. Now, some people might think that this is bad, that the meat is starting to split away from the bone. But really, it's dark meat. There's nothing wrong with having meat that'll fall right away from the bone. And you can see just from this, look at it, it just pulls right off from the bone. Dark meat, super moist, super flavorful. It's nice and tender. If you don't cook it enough, it'll still be a little chewy. So this is really nice and tender. And I'm just going to double check the temperature of the breast right into the sternum, right on the breastbone. Go all the way in, right down there, 140, it's right at about 155, 153, 155, which is perfect. Now, one thing that you do not learn a lot about at home when you're cooking is resting the meat. So it's really, really important. Now, we had a 14 to 16 pound turkey. It was originally 16 to 18, but now it's probably 14 to 16 from the moisture that it loses after you bake it. That's been cooking at 350 degrees. Some of this has been going for an hour and a half. Some of it's been going for 3 hours. That meat is going to be really, really hot. And what's going to happen when we take it out of the oven it's going to actually continue to cook the meat on the inside. And what happens when meat is cooking, all the moisture inside and all the liquid starts to kind of move and kinds to swell, and the meat of the turkey starts to expand a little bit. Well, if we cut into this right now, and I can show you what would happen, if we cut into this right now, liquid's going to come out of it and it's going to run. And that liquid's going to go out of the turkey into our gravy. We want that liquid to stay in the meat. And what will happen is the turkey cools slightly, the muscle will kind of relax, and that juice will get reabsorbed by the muscle, and that's what's going to keep our meat really, really juicy and really, really moist. So you don't want to be in a situation where you're cutting into it and carving it up right out of the oven. Cover this with a piece of foil, let it rest for about a half hour, and then you can get into it, and you can get into it, slice it up, take it all the meat, put it on a platter, however you want. One last thing, I took a little bit of our butter at the beginning before I was basting it on the turkey. And I'm just going to take a new brush, because we don't want to use the same brush we were putting it on raw turkey with, and we don't want to use butter that had the raw turkey in it. So we want to just take this just a little bit at the end, and look at the shine you're going to get right off of this at the end. This is going to be, you just do a little bit of this while it rests. It's got a little bit of fat there that's going to soak into it. You're going to moisten up the legs. It's going to be just an amazing, amazing bird. That's it. That's all we've got for you. Super simple. You know, there's steps that it takes. It takes a while, but it's not that hard. And for me, this is a way that you can get the legs and the thighs tasting really, really flavorful and moist without overcooking the breast. So get your birds, you know, season them up, separate them up, roast them the way that I did. Share it with whoever you've got over for Thanksgiving. Take a picture of it. You know, tag me at the picture on my Instagram, which is at Chef D LeFevre. And I'd love to see the turkeys that you make for Thanksgiving. And you know what? My favorite part, just a little bit of this skin. Crispy, crispy skin. Enjoy. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thanks for tuning in.